going on, everybody? Welcome into the Jets Report. My name is Patrick Siepman, and coming up on today's show, Jermaine Johnson, after practice yesterday, he was talking about Aaron Rodgers and the Week 1 matchup versus the Pittsburgh Steelers, and his quotes will have you guys absolutely fired up. And also, Armand Membou. Apparently, he's turning heads during the offseason so far. Aaron Glenn was giving him a bunch of praise, so we'll dive into that on the second half of today's show. But before we do so, I want to get a little check in on who are all the subscribers here of the Jets Report. So if you guys are subscribed to the channel, just give me a me down below in the comments section, and we'll show you guys some love on an upcoming show. Give you guys some shout outs. If you guys are subscribed, please give me a me down below. And if you aren't subscribed, change that. Hit that subscribe button today. We post a video every single day around your New York Jets. All right, let's talk about what edge rusher Jermaine Johnson had to say about Aaron Rodgers. Apparently, they were texting early last week, and then some reporters were asking him, about the Week 1 matchup, his relationship with Aaron Rodgers, and it was pretty cool stuff on what he had to say. And this is it, saying, obviously, I'm excited. He's excited. Talking about them playing each other Week 1. It was a pleasure having him around and stuff like that, and I wish him the best. But when I get between those lines, there's no friends. I think he knows that. And if he feels the same stuff, I'm excited. It's just another game. But for me, it's going to be my first game back. There will be a lot of emotions. And when my emotions are high, I tend to play pretty well. And, I'm not trying to be hyperbolic here, but Week 1 is going to feel like a playoff game. MetLife is going to be jumping. The Pittsburgh Steelers, big brand. They have a lot of history in the NFL. They're coming to MetLife to take on the New York Jets. And just Justin Fields, Aaron Rodgers, one of these fan bases will be crashing out after the Week 1 result, and I'm assuming it's going to be Steelers fans here. But Week 1's going to be awesome. It's going to feel like a playoff game, and if Jermaine Johnson's ready to roll and he is a big-time game, I'm assuming the Jets should win that one, because I think the Jets' front seven in that matchup versus Steelers, they should eat. Now, defenses are always ahead of offenses at the beginning of the season, and I think the Jets, with how dominant their defensive line should be on paper, with Will McDonald, Jermaine Johnson, and Quinnen Williams in the interior, they should be set up for success, because the Steelers' offensive line, it's a lot of question marks. Great center in Zach Frazier. Troy Fontenot at right tackle. Broderick Jones still a massive, massive question mark at left tackle. And actually, Will McDonald had 3 sacks going against him last year. You still got Mason McCormick at right guard. He's a question mark there. But I'm assuming the Jets' defensive line, they should feast on that group. I have no doubt in my mind that will be a huge advantage for the Jets. And I'm sure Aaron Glenn and Steve Wilks are telling these guys, before that game, the reason we will win this matchup versus Steelers is because of our front seven. They're probably going to need to have a 5-sack game, hold the Steelers to under 17 points, and you just hope the offense can get to 20 and solidify a victory in Week 1. But it wasn't just Jermaine Johnson talking about Rodgers. It was also Jeremy Ruckert saying this. But he's a Hall of Famer. He's going to be ready to play. We've been around him for 2 years, and we know how he thinks and how he approaches the game. So we will be ready. We will be excited to go against them. And, there's no doubt. That Jets locker room, especially the guys who have been there for the last 2 seasons, I am sure they're absolutely fired up. And I truly do think a Week 1 win for the Jets could spark a magical season. Because, the following week you're at home versus the Bills. What if you shock the world there and you're 2-0? Then you got 2 games in Florida against the Buccaneers and the Dolphins. We could be looking up and the Jets are 3-1. We're talking about the playoffs, but it starts with Week 1. I think that could be a tone setter because everything Aaron Glenn's been talking about, being a connected group, being a physical team, if everything he has been preaching this offseason comes to fruition right away, the guys in that locker room are going to buy into Aaron Glenn and his ways even more than they already have. But also, Rodgers, he was asked about the Jets yesterday, and I will give Rodgers some credit. He handled this in a great way, saying, I'm not going to take any shots at my previous organization if that's what you're trying to get me to do. And reporter just asked him, what's the difference between the Steelers and the Jets, trying to just bait Rodgers into, pretty much, taking a shot at the Jets. And Rodgers kind of took the high road here. So, and I will say, Rodgers, he seems like he's in a good spot mentally, and, I'm happy for him. Obviously not going to, root for anybody to be down in the dumps or, just obviously he's going through stuff. A couple of his family members, having cancer during the during his off-season time. So, it seems like he's in a good spot. He's very at peace with his decision to join the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I'm sure he's fired up as well to take on the New York Jets. He's a Hall of Fame talent. He's an all-time great talent. And just the fact that on the transaction wire it says Aaron Rodgers cut by the New York Jets, I am sure that is driving him crazy, and he's going to want to stick it to this organization. But also the Jets, they're going to want to stick it to him, and that's why week 1, it's going to feel like a playoff game, man. It's going to be awesome. But I'll ask you guys this. Week 1, Pittsburgh Steelers are 3-point favorites in your building. Who you got? Give me an NYJ for the Jets. Give me a PIT for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Let me know who you're rolling with. I better see a whole lot of NYJs down below in the comment section. I think the Jets are going to win that one. And hopefully it sparks a very successful season for Aaron Glenn in his first year. But speaking about Aaron Glenn, he was talking about Armand Membou and just kind of his development throughout his offseason process here, dating back to rookie minicamp, OTAs, and now we're at minicamp. And he loves what he is seeing. And obviously Membou is going to be a big part of this offense this upcoming year because the Jets, that offensive line should be the backbone of this unit. But this is what Glenn had to say. Membou's doing outstanding. He's working his butt off. He's learning every day, too. I think he's doing really, really good there. I think it's just adjusting from, being in Missouri to being here in the NFL and playing against a top-notch rusher he's been going against week in and week out. And, obviously it's just great to hear because, drafting tackles in the top 10 is an incredibly risky move because you can dominate at the college football level, pretty well. But I also will say a big reason why I don't really have too many doubts on Membou. He's playing in the SEC. He was going up against some of the top-notch edge rushers there. But in terms of just him at practice, I think it's going to be an iron sharpens iron situation in the trenches where it's like guys like Membou, Fashanu, they're going against Jermaine Johnson, Will McDonald every single play. And then the interior of the Jets offensive line like Simpson, Tippmann, Vera Tucker, they're going against Quinnen Williams. Like, that's going to be a huge matchup every single day during practice and training camp and obviously during the season. But this 5 for the Jets offensive line, they should be set up for success this season. And I do think, the biggest question marks are the tackles. But also I think the tackles probably have the highest amount of potential out of anybody on this offensive line. Like, if you told me Fashanu and Membou, they're Pro Bowlers for the next 10 seasons, I would not be shocked at that. Now, obviously, health is going to be a huge factor for this Jets O-line. It's building continuity and chemistry because we know Vera Tucker's been dealing with it, specifically that offensive interior of the offensive line. But I really do believe this. Like, this group could be special this season. And, clearly the Jets are going to make more of a point of emphasis of running the football, being a more physical team, and that starts with this offensive line. And I could see them getting a ton of credit throughout the year, where the Jets are going into, other people's buildings or running for 200 yards a game, kind of playing a little ball control type of mentality offensively, and that's going to be the recipe for success. I don't think the Jets are going to be a team whatsoever that's throwing the ball over the lot. A lot of these games are kind of going to be very, very fast. They're going to be running the ball a lot, chew that clock, limit possessions for each group, and I think that's going to be the formula for success. Now, will that result in wins? That's going to come down to situational excellence, where it's like there'll probably be a couple of games. It'll be 17-14. Fields gets the ball with 4 minutes left. Can he go make those plays in big-time spots? That's going to be the difference between the Jets, potentially getting the 7th seed in the AFC or maybe them winning 5-6 games. But it will be, no doubt in my mind, the Jets offense, they're going to be built through the run game, and that backbone of the entire team is going to be that defense. And overall, I just think the trenches will be the identity for the New York Jets. You obviously got Sauce, Garrett Wilson on the outsides, but I think the Quinnen Williams, the interior offensive line for the Jets, all those guys will, be the identity of this football team. So we appreciate everybody for watching today's show. And if you guys made it to the end, hit me with a Go Jets down below in the comment section so I can know where all the real ones are at that watch this entire thing. And also hit that subscribe button on your way out. Closing in on 8,000 subs here on the channel. So if you guys could hit that subscribe button today, and we'll see y'all next time. As always, Go Jets.